All right. So we have a lot to go over. Again, we're going to talk about how they are talking about taking out the supreme leader of Iran. Of course, this is a massive, massive deal. There are massive movements happening. Of course, there are massive deployments happening. We have cargo planes and different Hercules leaving the United States in the last 24 hours, of course. And then we have Russia pulling citizens from Iran and halting the Tehran consular activity. So their consulate is essentially saying, hey, get the heck out of there. So something massive must be going on. Russia said Sunday it had evacuated several of its citizens from Iran and halted activity at its Tehran consulate after Israeli attacks on the country sparked retaliatory missile fire towards Israel. Due to the current situation, the consular service of the embassy is temporarily suspending its activities. The resumption of consular services will be announced later. Now, this isn't just Russia. This is multiple countries that are basically saying, hey, we need to get the hell out of there. So this is a massive, massive deal, something big, even bigger than what has been going on. If you haven't noticed, they've been going back and forth, been hitting each other with missiles. In fact, the most missiles have gone through the Iron Dome, through Arrow, through David Sling that I've ever seen. So we'll talk about that here in a second. I do want to remind you guys we are completely independent, and to remind you about new products that EMP Shield just came out with. In fact, they are now even working with FBI and DHS and even again the DOD. Again, this is the same company that is protecting infrastructure from not only EMP strikes, but also a Carrington-level event from the sun. You can get this protection for yourself. If the government is doing this quietly, we should definitely be doing it loudly. Again, they now have devices that can protect your internet, Starlink, modem, again, all sorts of other devices that they have. I think they have at least 60 devices for pretty much anything that you want to keep running, including your cars, trucks, motorcycles, and boats. Go to marfuglenews.com/EMP and make sure to use the code MARF. They also have the new micro. If you tried to do the original on your vehicle and your vehicle for some reason didn't have space for it, the micro is 78% smaller, can bolt in anywhere, and it is all the same protection. All right, you guys, marfuglenews.com/EMP. All right, let's bring in my co-internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Fugle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So Netanyahu is now telling the world he is not ruling out taking out the supreme leader. Whoa.
Yeah, that's a big step, very big step. Obviously, he says that that if he takes them out, the war's over. It will be ended at that point. So I can see why it would look like an easy solution, but it's also a very difficult one when you think about targeting leaders of other countries.
Yeah, and basically some of the quotes, it says, we have had half a century of conflict spread by this regime. It's not going to escalate this conflict. It's going to end the conflict. Now, I see both sides of this, and I can see why that people right now, there's a lot of folks that are against Israel, but I would have to say I am not a fan of Iran. And mainly I see that it's a fear of starting a war with Iran. I see a lot of comments saying, we don't want to start a war with Iran. What, all these warmongers and warhawks in the country. Even Tucker Carlson, and I disagree with Tucker Carlson on this. Tucker Carlson is saying, don't start war, we don't start war with Iran. I think about how Tucker Carlson was visiting Putin in his country and shopping and saying how great it is to spend $100 there. I love Tucker Carlson, by the way, but in the last year and since he got fired and stuff, I have my wonders, and that's my opinion. I'm not going to change it. As far as the comments of saying that don't do this, as far as Netanyahu, I think he's, in my personal opinion, he's shady. I think that the government of every country is shady as hell. But I also think, I look at the way that they actually run their country in Iran, and I'm like, how would anybody want to move there and live under that kind of rule? Especially when you look at 1978, the year before that this regime took full on power and before the Islamic Revolution. And I'm like, look at how they lived before all of that happened, right? Now you look at it. So I see both sides of it. I also see that, all of the other shady stuff with Israel, right? And with Netanyahu. And in fact, I wonder if this would be different if it wasn't Netanyahu being at the front side of this. But of course it is. Netanyahu has been kind of cemented in this place for a very long time. It makes you think of how like Netanyahu is even in the place he is after all of the different scandals and different things. It's like obviously there's a plan at play. So something big, much, much bigger is going on here, and it is really, really getting serious. It says, I'm not going to get into the details, but we've targeted their top nuclear scientists. It's basically Hitler's nuclear team. Netanyahu said America's interest to support Israel as it seeks to eliminate Iran's nuclear program. Says today it's Tel Aviv, tomorrow it's New York. Look, I understand America first. I don't understand America dead. He keeps reminding people that they're chanting to Israel and to America. And that is one thing that I do point out. Like, I agree with that. This is the thing. When you say people are saying don't attack, and I know some of you too. Think about that. They are literally chanting to us. Like that's a fact. And some people that say, well, yeah, of course they are because America is so bad and they're doing all these ops. I agree with that too. But at the same time, what is actually happening here? This is like getting really, really out of hand. And then Iranian state broadcaster was hit on TV. While they were actually broadcasting, they ended up getting hit. Dex, now we can't show the video, but do you want to explain what happened? And as they were broadcasting, what happened?
Yeah, as she's broadcasting, this lady is broadcasting live in the studio. The studio around her just starts crumbling. Everything's falling down. You can see that it gets shaken and hit really hard. But yeah, Israel said it hit Iran's broadcasting authority, and footage from the newsreader hurrying from her seat as the blast struck. So Iran's state news agency also reported the strike. Israel's military said the building also served as a communication center used by Iran's armed forces.
Nowadays, the scary part is, though, too, is any video can now be faked. If you haven't seen what AI can do, most of you have. It is kind of freaky that, the wag the dog scenario was much harder to fake back in the day, and we definitely questioned a lot of videos. But now, think about in the future how hard we're going to have to question any video, like this person broadcasting in the studio falling down around her. That could be used and says, look at this horrible thing. You can see this poor woman in this building as this thing's crumbling down. As we get, more entangled with AI, I mean, look at what the public can do. I just saw 5 more videos of the president saying certain things, of RFK saying certain things at a press conference, and people believe it's real. We're already at the point of the movie Mountainhead. Like, you have people making these stupid statements by the president and by the health minister, the defense minister. You have these statements going out on Twitter, and it is indistinguishable from real. The only thing that sets it apart is that they're speaking unprofessionally, and they're saying, oh, these, stupid people and this and this and that. They make, the person who's making it is making sure that it is so silly. But if those same people weren't afraid of getting in actual trouble or going to jail, they could make it whatever they want. They could say, the president saying we're going to war with Iran, and it will happen. I mean, Mountainhead is a movie, but it's really bad predictive programming as well. We're going to be covering what is going on. Again, Russia is pulling out, but other countries are as well. And we have massive movement. We have all sorts of stratotankers going out. Something is going on. Is it Defender 25 that is going on, or is something else happening? Join us on our next show. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the flight radar. We are going to talk about what has been going down in the last 24 hours. So make sure to join us. If you're in the chat, just stay there. If you are watching the replay, all you have to do is click here.